You're listening to Heroes in the Moment.
What's up, heroes? I'm Michael.
And I'm Nathan.
And today, Daredevil episodes 4 and 5.
Man, we back in it with a, what are they, like a package, like a combo? Burger and fries is a combo?
Burger and fries is a combo. Maybe throw in a drink.
Maybe throwing a drink.
Maybe or milkshake.
Milkshake, yeah.
On your
Substitute,
mood,
a little upcharge.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Got to get that combo meal.
I had a burger. I went to Five Guys for lunch today.
Oh, did you?
Dude, it was
expensive.
so good. I know, bro.
Five Guys is so expensive,
good.
but it's good.
It was so good. We got
good.
Cajun fries instead of the regular fries. Try
I had
them next
Walmart
time.
Deli.
Walmart deli. Dude, when I used to work at a car wash, we had a Walmart right there, and I would go to the deli all the time.
Dude, yeah. It's easy.
All the time. It's easy. It's pretty cheap, too.
It's cheap. I mean, not the best food, but
Yeah,
it's food.
I mean, you know what you're getting at the Walmart deli.
No, yeah, that's true. It's Walmart. Anyway, so let's go over episode 4, Six Semper Systema, and just talk about it, because this episode, personally, I thought was a fire episode.
It was fire.
Brilliant episode from start to finish with great dialogue, great conversations. And that's most what it was. It wasn't a whole ton of action, but mostly great conversations. But the cool thing about it is, a lot of people may be like, oh, that sounds boring. But no, the conversations were meaningful and they were purposeful and they were entertaining because the dialogue was written so well.
Exactly.
Which was really awesome. So the episode starts off with Daniel Blake, the king, Fisk is dude that's been helping with the campaign.
The fanboy. Yeah, the weird guy.
He just really loves that guy weirdly too much.
He's glazing, bro.
And he glazes so hard.
Glazes.
Anyway, and he makes a mistake, goes out and parties with some friends or whatever, and leaks the plans that Kingpin has been talking about. Okay, and this gets him into major heat with old Kingpin. I'm surprised he didn't break it in half.
I'm surprised he's not dead, man.
I know. I'm surprised he's not.
It makes no sense. I feel like usually Kingpin would kill that person.
Well, because Daniel Blake pretty much begged on his knees. He's like, I don't deserve this. I don't,
he's
whatever.
Like, I don't deserve this. But
please, don't fire me. Do what you.
But I believe in you.
Yeah, but I believe feel like more than anyone else. And,
I do feel like that speech was kind of a little weird.
Yeah,
maybe a little forced.
I personally don't like his character at all.
I don't love it, but I think he does a good job of portraying that.
Yeah, that
I don't think he's a bad actor. Just being bad.
No, not the bad actor.
I think he's just absolutely pitiful. Yeah, and he's doing a pretty good job of it.
Pretty good job showing dislikability because he's not
which is
very
hard.
likable.
Yeah, I feel like.
Yeah. So, but among other dialogues is between this episode displays after the Hector Ayala case. I want to say Charlie. Matt Murdock going out and getting more cases and kind of helping the lowest, criminals, the ones who can't really afford them. And he goes and talks to this one guy who is he was put in jail for stealing some popcorn, like caramel popcorn. And he has a conversation with this guy. And this conversation was, wow. Yeah. It was unexpected from, this kind of, you wouldn't think it. So
it just felt real, man. That's never really been
from that type of person and a lawyer. It felt real, and especially as soon as he sits down and the convict literally makes fun of his blindness from the get go.
Just roasted him.
Just roasting
his own lawyer.
You're literally roasting your own lawyer, the only one who would actually try for you.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing, dude? Just digging your hole deeper. Anyway, so the dude was discussing, and he's, in his mind, he didn't think he did anything wrong, and this, that, or the other. And Daredevil's like, Matt Murdock, I keep Daredevil, Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock in this case. Yeah. Matt Murdock is trying to tell me, like, okay, we might could get you this or get you that. He said, no, I don't want nothing. So I was like,
I want to get back out.
Yeah, I want out instantly. I want bail.
He's like, dude, you're a repeat offender.
Dude, you're a repeat offender, and he was listing all the charges. You'd be lucky if I got you this or this. He's like, no, he wouldn't accept nothing. Which in most cases I would step away. If that dude was talking to me like that when I was trying to help him out, I'd be like, forget it. You can get maximum penalty.
Matt has a really kind heart.
He does. He wants to help him out.
That whole interaction is just going to show, like, their difference in viewpoints, but this guy, he's trying to highlight, the errors of the system.
The errors of the system.
And Matt is doing his best, to try to meet him where he's at.
Uphold the system.
Exactly. So it kind of comes to that breaking point where I think the line was like, they're willing to spend 3 times more to jail me than to feud me. Which he doesn't really see him taking that as a big deal. Obviously, it's still a crime. Right. But, he's trying to survive, and then Matt's stuck in a hard place. Kind of
that piece of dialogue that was just so amazing is that it was something like, forbid I ever try to get a sweet treat once in a while, and that's why he stole the caramel popcorn. because he just wanted something sweet.
I know.
And it's one of those
Makes me realize
cases.
how lucky we are.
It does show, reflective of luckiness and of where we are, but also of the system is not only failing those who may come from a struggling place that leads them to that crime.
Yeah.
Which not saying, if you commit the crime, you should be punished. Absolutely.
Exactly.
But failing those that, there could have been preventions for that crime to even happen, help or this, that, or the other. Now, not saying all, deserve this or deserve that, or everything should be handed to those people, but saying that there's better ways. And that was kind of a reflection of the system and how a lot of the system has failed in helping people instead of just kind of
bring them out instead of continuing the
same pattern.
Yeah.
And Matt realizing that, and then he tried to get down the sentence, and he did get down the sentence quite a bit, and gave it to him. But it was still that conversation between them is from somebody who just feels lost to the world, and then Matt who's listening to this, and he's like, yeah, there is a failure in the system, and the system is broken in a lot of regards. And them trying to talk about it. And in a sense, this episode was very almost political, not in the way of like, it
didn't feel like they were shoving it down anyone's throat.
No,
really.
It didn't feel woke. It didn't feel like they were shoving it down anyone's throat, but it was just a show of reality. It was showing of two different points of view. Yeah. And it was a conversation and a debate in regal sense. And it wasn't anything like, that they were trying to push an agenda. It was just a display.
It's survival.
Yeah.
Truly.
And I thought it was really cool to show that, because in a legal show like this, it showed that, think of Better Call Saul, it shows a lot of that same manner. Of course, Saul's a lot more, charismatic than most, and, but
a little more willing to break the line himself.
A little bit more willing to break the line than most lawyers, I would say. But still, it was just a really cool effect. And this really played on Matt's heart, not only as what he's doing as a lawyer, but how he's not in the streets anymore. He's given that up. So it's showing, that he's not.
He's talking about there's no help on the streets, and it's not the same as it used to be when Daredevil was there.
Yeah.
And obviously Matt is still hurting, right? Because at the end of episode 3, White Tiger was killed.
Yeah,
right.
He's still trying to figure out why.
And Matt's kind of hurting from that. He had tried so hard, so he's looking for something to pick him up, and he gets this.
And then not only that is the relationship that he with Hector Ayala's niece that is developing as well, and how she's
pushing
him and looking at him and saying, "What are we gonna do? Like this, that, or the other?" And she hugs him in that hospital scene, and that was devastating because she's so angry at the system. For what happened, and she blames the police, and whereas we don't know, but it's just it's really a really interesting, not only piece of TV acting and conversations, but of real, of real displays of stuff that goes on every day in these big cities or otherwise. It was really neat in that regard.
I enjoyed it, really.
I enjoyed it, and then most of this episode when it comes to Fisk, his mayor side, was just him and his plans and his watch parties and that one super terrible scene of him listening to them kids singing. That was just awful.
I thought it was funny because you just look at his hands,
so uncomfortable,
and he's trying to get out of there.
He was so uncomfortable.
I read something that said the first kids they brought in, they were pretty musical, so they were singing on pitch. So they let them go and brought in a bunch of kids who weren't musical, so they'd be singing off pitch. I thought it was hilarious.
It was because he was so uncomfortable.
And then dying. He doesn't want to.
And then he went to a concert or something from a different country, and they were singing the same song.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
He's like, "What do I care about these people?"
He's just like, he's like, "Why do I have to do this? Why this?" And it's it's part of being mayor.
Part mayor, they voted for you.
And then he's like, he hates it.
It is funny, bro, because you look at it and you're like, he wants to make change, albeit in his evil ways, but he's just weighed down by all these different diplomatic stuff.
Different black tie events.
Hilarious.
It is so funny.
It's so funny
because you can just see him he wanted to go and do stuff,
up.
And then he goes to this dock and he's talking about how we need to change it and this and that. There's a lot, and then that girl is like, "There's a lot of process."
There's a lot of red tape.
And he's just like,
"What's the first step?"
He's just irked to the heck about being mayor and stuff.
It's funny, dude.
And this is also when we look at Matt Murdock and his battle between me and Daredevil, this is also going to Fisk and his battle of being the Kingpin again.
Yeah.
Because he's facing that battle of I'm trying to do better. I'm going to therapy with my wife. I'm going and doing this. I'm doing that. I'm going to this black tie event. However, I'm still dealing with when I was Kingpin. If it was my way, I did it. I got it done.
He got it done right then.
He got it done right then. It was my way.
Yeah,
so
no red
he's
tape.
also battling with that, wanting to be that Kingpin
exactly.
again. And that's kind of the the mirror in this show is Daredevil versus Kingpin.
Yeah.
Fisk versus Murdoch. What's going to happen to make them break?
Yeah.
And do it. And we see
And
that
they're getting
break.
pushed really hard, like you said. They're trying not to resort to their physical, their violent natures. And
Right.
obviously, like the later episodes kind of explore that. But yeah, it's really cool both seeing Matt and Wilson just struggling at the same time. They're trying to become better, whether that's for a good or bad reason, But just seeing that old past tugging at them.
Right.
Woo, come on now.
And it's just constant.
I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was just really cool scenes that it gave us there. And then we go and Daredevil is investigating. Well, I should say Matt Murdock, but it is basically Daredevil.
It's Daredevil.
Is investigating the Hector Ayala case, finding the bullet and all this stuff, and he sees the Punisher symbol on it.
Yeah.
So he goes visits none other than Frank Castle.
Fire.
So you want to talk about the
Fire.
scene?
Yeah, man, this is awesome. Great to see John Barnthal back, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
He absolutely killed this.
He looks amazing. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite parts from the entire show so far. You have this clash of ideologies. In the
Yes.
original Daredevil show, I think we saw like season 2 about like 7 to 8 years ago. But once again, it's the same thing. Matt approaches him, but Matt really never tells him, why he's there. Matt's just looking to blow off some steam, and Punisher kind of gathers that, and he tells him, I can smell it on you. The guilt and the shame. He's like, and I can tell, you're looking for permission almost from me to kind of like legitimately kill these cops. You can tell that Daredevil was just looking to unleash his wrath.
Yeah.
So he's going to the person who does it best.
Yeah. And not only that, but Frank pushing him. He's pushing him
to let it
and he's
out.
saying,
Yeah.
"Why are you keeping this in? Why is it keeping it in? What's his name? Can you even say his name of why?" Talking about Foggy.
Oh
his
my
dad.
gosh, bro.
And he's like, "You can't even say his name. Why could you? You should be out on the street. You should be doing this, and you're holding this guilt up to you because you can't even say his name." And it was
Daredevil's like, he got life, and then Punisher was like, "What about Foggy, huh? Did he get life?"
See, it was just a fire debate
that
and
was
ideologies. Even though I do agree more so with Daredevil's
Of course,
ideologies,
yeah.
absolutely, than Punisher.
Punisher is
But
a mass killer.
It's fascinating seeing those two different perspectives. That perspective of crossing that line and that guilt that he feels for not doing it. That Daredevil has. Is he wants to do it. He wants to go out. He wanted to murder Bullseye.
Yeah.
But he tried.
He tried to kill Bullseye.
But not succeeding, and then him getting life, but still bearing that guilt that Foggy is dead and he blames himself for it. And it's just it's such a cool concept that the two characters holding that conversation until it finally is just like weighing on him. It's like, oh, I need to do my job. It's just really
that
cool.
was awesome. I loved when he punched Punisher. And then he apologizes like immediately.
He's like,
and Punisher's like, "That was the most real thing you
He
did here,
all
Red."
day. Yeah,
He was like, "That was." He's like, "That was fine."
See that's just fire. It was,
That was
awesome.
awesome,
Awesome
man.
seeing him again and really cool in the squad. I hope we see him again the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, I really hope so, man. Like
see him full
he's a
decked out.
crucial part of that dynamic.
Absolutely.
He has a place for sure.
Absolutely. And then the end of this episode gives us the first look at Muse before the episode ends with Daredevil training with his batons and Kingpin kind of going to see his old Frank in his cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Adam, right? I think.
There's Adam?
Yeah, I think it's Adam. Adam's the guy.
Adam.
Yeah, it turns out
I'll call him
Adam
Frank.
didn't just move to a different city.
He did not leave. He's in a
He's
cell.
been locked up. So.
Brutally.
I mean,
Anyway,
it makes sense.
and episode 4 ends. What a great
Yeah.
episode. And it's such a good episode that showing where Matt is in the time and how part of him is Daredevil. He's not, he can't just give
He
that
can't
part
get
up.
rid of it.
No.
His dad was a boxer. He inherited just that nature, right? He has that darker nature.
Absolutely.
So it's a struggle to fight to keep that away.
Absolutely.
But I like seeing it.
Yeah, fire. All right, our next episode 5, with interest.
5.
So this episode was more of a filler episode. It did not really fit with the overall
completely unrelated
connection.
really.
It was about a bank heist, but still kind of cool.
St.
I thought it
Patty's
was
Day.
a little out of place and cheesy from
was
time
way
to
out of
time.
place, yeah.
I mean, wasn't really necessary. We got some cool stuff. We'll talk about. First off, we got some cool Easter eggs. First off, Yusuf Khan, father of Kamala Khan,
Yeah.
Miss Marvel, worked at this bank and was interacted with Matt and talking
Yeah.
about Miss Marvel, which is again further establishing themselves in the MCU, which is cool. And then the next thing we know, he gets denied a loan. And what was the loan even for? I don't even remember what it was.
He wanted the loan for, I think they wanted to open more offices or something. They wanted like to expand, but he's saying that like, you know, the clients you're taking, you know, like they're extremely low income, they can't pay, so like it's not a smart move for the bank here to invest in your business because you're not making enough money because of your clients. Right. Which that's what, you know, Murdoch is all about. Right. Shout out Nelson and Murdoch. Hopefully that's making a comeback. But
right. And so he gets 9 and he leaves, and then the bank gets heist. There's a heist that takes place to try to
Devlin and the Irish boys.
Yes, these Irish guys on St. Patrick's Day.
On St. Patrick's Day.
On St. Patrick's Day. And they come in with these different colored masks, and then Matt hears them from walking all the way across the street, showing his crazy abilities, and he goes back.
I love their like color coordination.
Yeah. Yeah, you had green, red, yellow,
green,
blue.
Red, yellow, yeah.
He's like, hey, blue, go do that. Yeah, it was funny.
When I first saw that, my first thought was like, Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Bank heist, mask, everything. But
he's Joker.
Right he's Joker. I think, man, like I told you this before, this episode is just a lot of like Matt aura farming. Yeah. You know, it's really cool getting to see him de-escalate situations as Matt Murdock. You know, that's not in a courtroom. You know, he just kind of he walks back in when everything's happening. So, you know, because he cares about these people, he wants to save them. But I mean, just throughout the episode, you know, they're just like they're bullying Matt, and
they are.
He's slowly like getting under their skin and just messing with them.
And they even try to like release him in order to make the hostage. And he was like, and he literally said, take like the husband with them because he wants to stay because he knows he can help everybody else. And he's like, it's brave of you, Celestina, but I'm just trying to get rid of you. It was great, but he just kept annoying him to like, all right, now you stay, and you know, it was great in my terrible Irish accent. I can't. Yeah.
I can't do an Irish accent.
But I thought the dude in the green, he had kind of aura. He
had aura, bro. You know who low-key he was reminding me of?
Who?
David Tennant. I was like, this guy's pretty cool.
I was feeling Colin Farrell with an Irish accent, you know. Well, is Colin Farrell actually Irish?
I think he is.
I think he is Irish.
I'm like 99%
Colin Farrell
sure.
with an Irish accent. Yes, he is Irish.
He is Irish.
I was feeling Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they were having this conversation, and we know that they're working for somebody. Who do we think that they're working for?
Well, I mean, so they were going after this
diamond,
and
or gem,
gem,
whatever it was.
diamond, and it was worth like millions of dollars. So, I mean, my guess was just that, you know, like previous to this, Luca's men had killed another gang's men, and they had been forced to pay $1.8 million. My guess was maybe they didn't have the cash on hand, so they were trying to steal this gem to sell and make up for that. Okay. That's mine. Or else, like,
that could be it.
Who else wants just a diamond?
It could have been Vanessa, because you know how she is with art and stuff.
She does love jewelry, yeah. But she's never like been a thief.
No.
She appreciates fine art, but
yeah.
My theory was just that it was probably like Luca's gang.
True.
But then again, like at the same time,
there's got to be.
I don't know if it matters. It might just be.
It just might have been a one-off.
Because he does mention the boss, but you know,
it may have just been a one-off episode. Really, just showing Matt's abilities with his other senses.
I know, bro.
Like during hearing the bank vault and how to open it.
Dog, that bank vault part was so cool.
That was cool. And then
when he's taking out the dudes with his tie, being quiet, the bank vault part
trying to be quiet, catching the gun before it falls.
Catching the gun.
Taking the blue guy out.
I love how Mr. Khan, like he's just listening to Matt and he can't believe what he's seen. And Matt just casually opens the bank vault.
Yeah, and he's just like, whoa. And he's like, why don't you start with 4? And then he gets it and they go up. And, he's just like, wow, Mr. Murdoch, you are very, very awesome. Anyway, so they go upstairs and then you have the police outside who are trying to make deals and whatever. Yeah, but
hostage negotiations.
They're trying to negotiate, but at the end of the day, they're like, okay, we're going to charge in and stuff. And they charge in. And Daredevil essentially beats them before that they are able to. And the green guy dresses the police officer room, and then he goes and chases after him, puts on the red mask, and just beats him to tar out of him for absolutely no reason, but he does it anyway because why not?
Yeah, I like it's funny how it's like New York on St. Patrick's Day underneath the construction zone, and there's like no one there to watch.
No one there in New York City.
Puts on a mask
and
just
puts on that red mask and just breaks that leg in half and then just leaves.
Yeah, the guy's already beaten. He's just sitting there, and Matt just like jumps,
just punches breaks it. And that girl that was a hostage was also in on it, and all this stuff.
Yeah, I didn't see that part coming.
I didn't either at all. But anyway, it was just one of those filler episodes. that just was there. It was fun, but wasn't anything crazy.
It was fun. It was a good ride.
But also, it's like Disney. I'm over filler episodes. I just want content.
I know.
You know, why
Especially
make
for
filler?
a shorter Daredevil?
Why? I mean,
season.
you could have, instead of 9 episodes, well, boom, you had 8 episodes. Why waste money on filler episodes? You know, when you can put that money into other stuff. You know, does that make sense?
See, I think this episode was done before the reshoot, so like
it could have been.
I can't fully say, you know, like give a different team because I think 2 through 7 is what I heard. 2 through 7 was an old team, and but yeah, like I said, it's just out of place, and you know, Matt doesn't suit up, and
and Matt doesn't suit up till 6 episodes in, which is crazy, but we'll get to that on the next podcast when you guys listen to that about 6 and 7. But yeah, it was a filler episode, but you know, it's like Mandalorian. He goes and stops and gets milk every other episode.
He gets milk and then gas.
And then gas. And then he gets to the point.
But it was good. I still enjoyed it though.
Yeah, I still enjoyed it, but still, I'm more into the story than to filler.
Of course. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. And as always, if you liked it, please let us know by giving us a download and a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. If you guys want early access to all of our episodes and exclusive access to fun episodes and additional movie reviews, feel free to subscribe to our membership Heroes HQ. We have a new feature on our episodes where you can send us a text message by following a link at the bottom of our episodes. You can submit your questions for Heroes Q&A there or just shoot us a DM on Instagram. And then finally, feel free to also check out our YouTube channel and our Instagram at Heroes in the Moment.
And we just want to thank y'all for listening. And as always, we love you 3000.